Hi everyone, I am Jamaica Civiliano and I am going to report the rest of the section. We have Section 20, Skills Development Centers. The authority shall strengthen the network of national, regional, and local skills training centers for the purpose of promoting skills development. These networks shall include skills training centers in vocational and technical schools, technical institutes, polytechnic colleges, and all other duly accredited public and private dual system educational institutes. The technical education and skills development centers shall be administered and operated under such rules and regulations as may be established by the authority in accordance with the National Technical Education and Skills Development Plan. So in short, here, the authority must strengthen the network mapa national man, regional, and local skills training centers para ma-promote ang skills development. Now, let us proceed to the section 21, formulation of a comprehensive development plan for middle-level manpower. The authority shall formulate a comprehensive development plan for middle-level manpower based on a national employment plan or policies for the optimum allocation, development, and utilization of skilled workers for employment, entrepreneurship, and technology development for economic and social growth. These plans shall, after adoption by the authority, be updated periodically and submitted to the President of the Philippines for approval. Thereafter, it shall be the plan for technical education and skills development for the entire country within the framework of the National Development Plan. The authority shall direct the TESDA Secretariat to call on its members agency, the private sector, and the academe to assist in this effort. The comprehensive plan shall provide a reformed industry-based training program including apprenticeship, dual training system, and other similar schemes intended to promote maximum protection and welfare of the worker trainee, improve the quality and relevance and social accountability of technical education and skills development, accelerate the employment generation efforts of the government, and expand the range of opportunities for upward social mobility of the school-going population beyond the traditional higher levels of formal education. All government and non-government agencies receiving financial and technical assistance from the government shall be required to formulate their respective annual agency technical education and skills development plan in line with the National Technical Education and Skills Development Plan. The budget to support such plans shall be subject to review and endorsement by the authority to the Department of Budget and Management. The authority shall evaluate the efficiency and effectiveness of agencies' skills development program and schemes to make them conform with the quantitative and qualitative objectives of the National Technical Education and Skills Development Plan. So, in short, in order to allocate, develop, and use skilled individuals for employment, entrepreneurship, and technology development for economic and social growth, the authority shall design a comprehensive plan or comprehensive development plan for middle-level manpower based on a national employment plan or policies. Now, let's proceed to Section 22. Establishment and administration of national trade skills standards. There shall be national occupational skills standards to be established by the TESDA accredited industry committees. The authority shall develop and implement a certification and accreditation program in which private industry groups and trade associations and accredited to conduct approved trade tests and the local government units to promote such trade testing activities in their respective areas in accordance with the guidelines to be set by the authority. The Secretary of Labor and Employment shall determine the occupational trades for mandatory certification. All certificates relating to the national trade, skills testing, and certification system shall be issued by the authority through the TESDA Secretariat. So in short, the authority is responsible for creating and implementing a certification and accreditation program that authorizes private industry organizations and trade associations to conduct approved trade testing. Local government units are then responsible for promoting these trade testing activities in their respective regions in accordance with the authorities' guidelines. Next, we have the Section 23, Administration of Training Programs. The authority shall design and administer training programs and schemes that will develop the capabilities of public and private institutions to provide quality and cost-effective technical education and skills development and related opportunities. Such training programs and schemes shall include teachers, trainers, training, skills training, for entrepreneur development and technology development, cost-effective training in occupational trades and related fields of employment, and value development as integral component of all skills training programs. In short, the authority is responsible for developing the capacity of both public and private institutions to deliver high quality and reasonable price technical education, skill development, and associated opportunities. Now let us proceed to the Section 24, Assistance to Employers and Organizations. The authority shall assist any employer or organization engaged in skills training schemes designed to attain its objectives under rules and regulations which the authority shall establish for this purpose. So, meaning the authority would support any employer or organization participating in skill training programs intended to help them reach their goals in accordance with whatever rules and guidelines they create for this purpose. Now let us proceed to the Section 25, Coordination of all skills training schemes. In order to integrate the national skills development efforts, all technical education and skills training schemes are provided for in this Act shall be coordinated with authority, particularly those having to do with the setting of trade skill standards. For this purpose, existing technical education and skills training programs in the government and in the private sector, specifically those wholly or partly financed with government funds, shall be reported to the authority, which shall assess and evaluate such programs to ensure their efficiency and effectiveness. Meaning, all technical education and skills training program as outlined in this Act must be coordinated with the authority in order to fully integrate the nation's effort to develop its workforce. This is especially true for programs that deal with establishing trade skill standards. The authority shall establish effective and efficient institutional arrangements with industry boards and such other bodies or associations to provide direct participation of employers and workers in the design and implementation of skills development schemes, trade skills standardization and certification, and such other functions in the fulfillment of the authority's objectives. In short, in order to provide direct employee participation, it is designed and implementation of skills development schemes, trade skills standardization and certification, and other functions in the fulfillment of the authority's objectives. The authority shall establish effective and efficient institutional arrangements with the industry boards and such other bodies or associations. Next, we have the Section 27, which is the incentive schemes. The authority shall develop and administer appropriate incentive schemes to encourage government and private industries and institutions to provide high-quality technical education and skills development opportunities. In short, the authority should give them incentives. Next is Section 28, Skills Development Opportunities. The authority shall design and implement an effective and efficient delivery system for quality technical education and skills development opportunities, particularly in disadvantaged sector. With new tools, wealth creation, and with the capability to take on higher value-added, gainful activities and to share equitably in productivity gains. So, meaning the authority is responsible for developing and putting into place a system that provides quality technical education and opportunities for skills development. Next, we have Section 29, Devolution of TESDA training function to local governments. In establishing the delivery system provided for the preceding section, the authority shall formulate, implement, and finance a specific plan to develop the capability of local government units to assume ultimately the responsibility for effectively providing community-based technical education and skills development opportunities. Provided, however, that there shall be formulated and implemented an effective timely retraining for TESDA personnel that would be affected by the devolution to ensure their being retained if the concerned local government units would not be able to absorb them. So, in short, the authority shall develop, implement, and finance a specific plan to develop the capability of local government units to ultimately assume responsibility for effectively providing community-based technical education and skills development opportunities, establishing the delivery system specified in the preceding section. Now we have the Section 30, the Skills Olympics. To promote quality skills development in the country and with a view of participating in the international skills competitions, the authority, with the active participation of private industries, shall organize and conduct annual National Skills Olympics. The authority, through the TESDA Secretariat, shall promulgate the necessary rules and guidelines for the effective and efficient conduct of annual National Skills Olympics and for the country's participation in international skills Olympics. So, in short, the authority, with the active involvement of private enterprises, shall organize and conduct yearly National Skills Olympics in order to promote quality skills development in the nation and with the goal of competing in worldwide skills contest. Next, we have the Section 31, the TESDA Development Fund. A TESDA Development Fund is hereby established to manage, administered by the authority, the income from which shall be utilized exclusively in awarding for grants and providing assistance to training institutions, industries, local government units for upgrading their capabilities and to develop and implement training and training-related activities. The contribution to the fund shall be the following: a one-time lump sum appropriation from the national government, an annual contribution from the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration Fund, the amount of which should be part of the study on financing in conjunction with Letter D of Section 34. Donations, grants, endowments, and other bequests or gifts, and any other income generated by the authority. The TESDA board shall be the administrator of the fund, and as such shall formulate the necessary implementing guidelines for the management of the fund, subject to the following: A. Unless otherwise stipulated by the private donor, or only earnings of private contributions shall be used, and no part of the seed capital of the fund, including earnings thereof, shall be used to underwrite expenses for administrations. The board shall appoint a reputable government accredited investment institution as fund manager, subject to guidelines promulgated by the board. So the TESDA development plan, a fund, is established to managed by the authority, and the income therefrom will be exclusively used in awarding grants and providing assistance to training institutions, business, and local government units for upgrading their capabilities and to develop and implement training and training related activities. Now let us proceed to Section 32, the scholarship grants. The authority shall adopt a system of allocation and funding of scholarship grants which shall be responsive to the technical education and skills development needs of the different regions in the country. In short, the authority must establish a system for allocating and supporting scholarship grants that will take into account the needs of the various areas of the nation in terms of technical education and skills development. Now let us proceed to the Section 33, the TESDA budget. The amount necessary to finance the initial implementation of this act shall be charged against the existing appropriations of the NMYC and the BTVE, thereafter such funds as may be necessary for the continued implementation of this act shall be included in the Annual General Appropriations Act, meaning the NYMC and BTV's current appropriations will be used to cover the cost of the initial implementation of this act. After that, any addition money required for the continued application of this act will be accounted for in the General Appropriations Act. Now we have Section 34, Transitory Provisions. Within 2 months after the approval of this act, the President shall, in consultation with the Secretary of Labor and Employment and the Secretary of Education, Culture and Sports, appoint the private sector representatives of the TESDA board. Within 3 months after the appointment of the private sector representatives, the President shall, upon the recommendation of the board, appoint the Director General. Within 4 months after the appointment of the Director General, the board shall convene to determine the organizational structure and staffing pattern of the authority. Within 1 year after organization of the authority, the board shall commission an expert group on funding schemes for the TESDA Development Fund as provided in Section 31, the results of which shall be used as the basis for appropriate action by the board. The personnel of the existing National Manpower and Youth Council NMYC of the Department of Labor and Employment and the Bureau of Technical and Vocational Education BTVE of the Department of Education, Culture and Sports shall, in a holdover capacity, continue to perform their respective duties and responsibilities and receive their corresponding salaries and benefits until such time when the organizational structure and staffing pattern of the authority shall have been approved by the board. Provided that the preparation and approval of the said new organizational structure and staffing pattern shall, as far as practicable, respect and ensure the security of tenure and seniority rights of affected government employees. those personnel whose positions are not included in the new staffing pattern approved by the board or who are not reappointed or who choose to be separated as a result of the reorganization shall be paid their separation or retirement benefits under existing laws. And now let us proceed to Section 35, Automatic Review. Every 5 years after the effectivity of this act, an independent review panel composed of 3 persons appointed by the President shall review the performance of the authority and shall make recommendations based on its findings to the President and to the both houses of Congress. Meaning, after this act becomes effective, an independent review body made up of 3 people the President has selected will examine the authority's performance every 5 years and present recommendations to the President based on its findings. Next, we have Section 36, Implementing Rules and Guidelines. The TESDA Board shall issue, within a period of 90 days after the effectivity of this Act, the rules and regulations for the effective implementation of this Act. The TESDA Board shall submit to the Committees on Education, Arts, and Cultures of both Houses of Congress copies of the implementing rules and guidelines within 30 days after its promulgation. In short, the rules and regulations for the successful execution of this Act must be issued by the TESDA Board within 90 days of the effective date of this Act. Next, we have Section 37, Repealing Clause. All laws, presidential decrees, executive orders, presidential proclamations, rules and regulations are parts thereof contrary or inconsistent with this Act are hereby repealed or modified accordingly. In short, all laws that are in conflict with this Act are now repealed or modified. Next, we have Section 38, Separability Clause. If any provisions of this Act is declared unconstitutional, the same shall not affect by the validity and effectivity of the other provisions hereof. Meaning, the validity and applicability of the other sections of this Act shall not be affected if any provision is found to be unconstitutional. Next, we have Section 39, Effectivity. This Act shall take 15 days after its complement publication in 2 newspapers of general circulation. Meaning, after being fully published in 2 newspapers of broad circulation, this Act will go into effect 15 days later. That would be all. Thank you. Thank you for listening.